Hey Galaventures, I am at SprinterFest 2019 and I am in a build that, well, there's a little bit of backstory and I'll share that. But last year I filmed Dennis with Modular Vans. He has now rebranded to Roost Vans and he's back with another build.
Hello everyone, I'm Dennis Beach with Modular Van, but now we're changing our name to roostvans.com, and this is a customer's build that is in process. Joni interviewed us last year at SprinterFest with our first van that I built for myself and my family. We call it Obsidian, a black van with a lot of internal cabinetry. It was a long version. This is a short van, a 144 Sprinter wheelbase. And what we've done in this scenario is, frankly, leverage some of Joni's inspiration for this build, which is the fridge in the doorway on the on the passenger side door, so that you can have access to the fridge both inside and outside. Again, this is an in-process build, so you're not seeing all the details, but we have paper stone countertops that'll soon be here. In this build, we have a pretty small cabinet that controls all of our electronics and also gives us 60 inches of counter space on this side, 60 inches of counter space on this side with our proprietary flip-up bed system. And so while you're cooking, then you can increase your counter space, and then whenever you're ready to sleep with the flare spaces in this particular build, then you can sleep side to side on a full-size bed. But even in a 144, you could still get a queen-size bed, side to side, and have this flip-up kit that would give you all this counter space to use. You notice a big pocket here behind the front driver's seat, and we're going to be doing a bench, small, wide bench seat that'll have a lift up top, and then just a simple toilet inside. And in this case, the customer really wanted their dog to be able to have a 24-inch by 24-inch sleeping area. How the configuration worked with that, it was going to make it really difficult for the dog bed to have that full 24 inches in a permanent scenario. So we're creating a telescoping top that allows them to push it in when the dog's not using it, and then pull it out during drive time, so the dog can sit there and have enough room. It's about a 45-pound dog, so he's large enough. This bed system, really the whole system, all the cabinetry, which is ready to order and shipping, flat packable to anywhere in the United States for under $40 per cabinet for shipping, and then the shelf kit that fits either in between two cabinets or totally standalone, or on a cabinet end and leverages the cabinets. All of this stuff mounts to our rail system. In the past, we developed this rail system for prototyping using 80/20. We found, frankly, it was expensive and really hard to process, machine, mill, and then just the whole manufacturing processes of it were pretty difficult to go into production. So we are also shipping right now these upper and lower mounting kits that all of our cabinetry attaches to and disassembles from. So you can loosen the cabinetry, slide it to wherever you want it, tighten it back up without fully removing it. That's the key. And when you're setting it up, then you can dial it in exactly where you want it and tighten it down. If you have a big road trip coming up and you want to add more cabinetry, and then you're using your van for work and want to remove cabinetry, then you can take 4 bolts, quarter turn, well, full turn, and pull the cabinetry out. We also sell LED lighting strips that are a slimline and custom cut to the cabinetry as well, that you can disconnect. You can see the lead right here that we're in the middle of building. That'll give us power that our switch plates will control for dimming. Now the lower cabinetry is not shipping by mail order. In our Portland, Oregon facility, we do custom design this lower cabinetry, and then install it into the vans. If you're a DIY in the Portland area or you want to drive up to the Portland area, then we can design or remake some of the existing cabinets that we have, and you can come and pick it up. So we'll work with you on getting your van done best as we can. Ultimately, our goal is to get everyone out enjoying nature and enjoying the lifestyle of either van life or working and traveling as easily as possible, especially with families. Story I like to tell that made me fall in love with this is my wife and I got off work about 5-ish on a Friday, and 30 minutes later, without even pre-planning it, we were driving down the road with our 2-year-old going out to the coast, and then decided to stay an extra day. And it just really opened us up to this idea of having this tool for the lifestyle of a family and a busy individual too. So in this build, you can worked with the customer on what their battery needs were, what their power needs were, also some of the details of what was really important, what were really important to them. In this case, they wanted to have a little bit of boondocking capability. They wanted also to have a induction cooktop, which just has a high power draw. And they didn't see boondocking for more than like 3 or 4 days at a time, because with that extended period of time comes typically additional battery expense. We only use lithium-ion batteries. So this customer, we're putting in 340 amp hours of Reliant lithium-ion batteries with 100 watt solar and MPPT charge controller, in this case from Renogy. We also have an engine compartment DC to DC charger, so it recharges while they're driving. There's also a shore power charger, so they can charge while they're at home or at a friend's house plugged in. Ultimately, with this 340 amp hours of battery, they're sitting pretty with having a lot of power for what their power requirements are. Mm-hmm. The inverter that we have is a Magnasign Magnum Energy 2800, 2500 watt inverter, but it's also a charger as well. And that's a big part of what we try to do, is make the dollars stretch as far as possible, ultimately, because builds can get pretty expensive. So in our business model, we're trying to set it up as best as possible to get our customers into a van with the functions they need, either in phases, all at once, or just develop the van to what's going to work for them, their timeline, their budget, their interests, and then also our standards too, so we can get a van in and out utilizing the power of CNC router technology and CAD work to both communicate what the end result of the van's going to be, make those decisions. Most of my customers don't live in the Portland area even, so I'm doing screen shares with them, as well as being able to sign off on, we want it to look this way, and I can send those proprietary cabinet designs to my CNC and cut them out while we're installing the rails, while we're installing the paneling. The cabinetry is being fabricated on the router, and then when that comes off the router, we can hop on to going ahead and installing the cabinetry too. So it's been working out really well. We're having a lot of fun, and we're doing some pretty cool stuff. This is a 22-gallon water tank, fresh water tank, that we're also going to be, it's not shown, so I'm going to be waving my hands around talking about it. It's a Rixson hot water hydronic system and heater. It uses the S-Bar D4 diesel heater, so you can plug into shore power and have hot water pretty much on demand. You can be unplugged from shore power and use the diesel independent auxiliary heater to heat the hot water, or you can be driving and it automatically uses the hydronic system of the engine to circulate the hot water, so that you can have hot water right whenever you stop. For the cabin heater, it's a single unit, well, multiple components, but it's a single product that gives you the option as well of using diesel, your diesel tank to heat the cabin, using the hydronic system of the engine to heat the cabin as well. So you have really 3 power sources, 2 for the cabin heat. But it's a great system, local company in the Portland area, Rickson Enterprises, and great customer service, and also awesome support, warranty claims, and etc. if needed. A lot of the mail order stuff for DIY, you got to be careful because you might be able to get it for less expensive, but if you have issues, then you're going to be paying for service. This bed system is a little different from last year. We have simplified it to both reduce cost and complexity and increase reliability, and we had some safety items that we wanted to address just to be sure about. So the bed system can be raised and lowered on these tracks. In this configuration, since we wanted to maximize cabinetry, we opted just to have the bed at a fixed height. But with a smaller cabinet, with the countertop that doesn't extend underneath, then we can raise and lower the bed for 36 inches above the floor. Perfect for fitting a mountain bike underneath, front wheel removed, and also lower it down to right at the wheel well. And the reason why that's beneficial is that you can add bunk beds. So this lower mounting rail would allow you to add a child bunk bed while still have a garage behind that lower bunk bed. Say you have a full size side to side, a queen size side to side, and say a twin bunk bed side to side. You can easily have a family of 4. Both with their own independent beds. So having the ability to travel with kids, everyone has their bed to sleep on, a comfortable bed to sleep on, and still have storage underneath both beds. Well, the lower bed, technically. Still have options for bikes, stored underneath the bed in the rear, and it's just an incredible use of space. We've opted not to develop a closed cabinet here for the purpose of being able to access all of your gear. We can do anything custom if it's needed, but our effort in the near term is to develop that lower bunk bed solution and show that, because again, I want to get families outside like that. We have a locking system, ships flat, you have an adjustable shelf, and then button down the hatches before you drive. In this case, we did a custom cabinet for the microwave. If anyone can find a microwave door that opens left to right, please reach out to me. We wanted to put this on this side. Big part is reducing complexity of the build. All the electric is run on this side of the van, but we could easily run electric over during the initial build. We also have a roof vent, and this is factory option for a Mercedes Skylight.
I just want to pop in here and share the backstory on this particular van. About 1.5 years ago, my systems guy and I started a van build company, Upriver Upfitters, and we were going to be working on one van at a time, totally custom. And Ann and Bob, the owners of this van, were my first van build clients. And I actually met with them last year at SprinterFest and introduced them to Dennis, because as we were planning out their van, they basically wanted the TheGalavan design, but their van, instead of being the 170 wheelbase, is the 144, so a much shorter van. They wanted the same amount of counter space that I have, and to be able to fit that and a bed to sleep too into their van, we had to be able to float the bed above the counter and then be able to easily move it out of the way, because they didn't want to have the kind of bed that you have to assemble all the time. So Dennis's bed design was the perfect solution. Toward the beginning of their build with Upriver Upfitters, my builders quit. And so I felt super bad, but I'm really, really glad that I introduced them to Dennis, and he was able to build out their van. And I am so happy for Ann and Bob, because this van has turned out so beautiful.
So we took over this build. So they had already done quite a bit of work before we came aboard, and with the ability to be able to use some of our CAD layouts to figure out the whole build. And so frankly, it reduced some of our options. We were only able to get 100 watts of solar on top based on the location of the fan, pre-existing to us. as well as the rack that they had purchased from Illuminous. We just didn't have any other options. If we were able to be engaged a little bit earlier, then I think we could have done a more efficient job at laying out the solar, the fan, and then also used, frankly, the Roost Vans and modular van roof rack system so that we could dynamically adjust exactly where the solar panels resided, as well as where the vent fan resided, and even worked around the factory skylight sunroof. We shut the door to get some better audio, but I wanted to speak on, for one, Joni's service and planning. I'd mentioned about the rack and how that limited us on our solar supply. The first step, I truly believe, in doing any of these builds, even if you're doing something fairly simple, plan. Plan. Get dimensions of items and be real careful, especially with your electric layout. When you build a house, which is what you're doing here, you figure out plumbing, you figure out electrical, you figure out where your toilet's going to be in those bigger items, but it's tremendously helpful to know what those power requirements are, where the plumbing and the electrical needs to be run first before you start, putting in all of the paneling and so forth. Now, this paneling is removable, but it's time consuming to just constantly go back and forth. But if you're doing it in stages, having that removable, flexible option is great. So that idea, at first when I started, I didn't know what I didn't know, and Joni is a great resource for that. She'll be able to ask questions along with the builder on what your needs are, what your wants are, and what your budget is. So with those three main ideas, then you can traverse this process of building out your home away from home, and hopefully your Roost van, with the consultant's help, quite frankly, and walking through that process. It's a great endeavor. It's hard. It's challenging. There's a lot of details to figure out. There's a tremendous number of mistakes that can be made that a skilled consultant and builder can help you avoid. Enlist Joni's help and be very communicative with the builder about what your desires are, what your needs are, and what your intent is. Be careful not to just go with everything you want, because it can propose additional challenges. Figure out what you need and how you're going to use the build, how you're going to use your van, and then design towards that. There's a lot of cool shiny objects out there.
His materials are so great. I love the design elements of his vans. I gotta say, I would go this way if I were building again, just because he has really figured this out and dialed this in. This is Joni with TheGalavan. Enjoy your journey.
Thanks, guys.